Let's keep going with fractions and decimals and converting back and forth. What if you did have a mixed fraction, a mixed number, 1 3/8? Convert that into a decimal number. Well, first, doesn't matter what you can do first, 3/8. You can't put the 1 in there in most calculators, but you can put the fraction portion. 3 divided by 8 is 0.375. Well, 0.375. But that 1, that'd make it 1.375. Hope you caught that. So that's the 1, and then the 0.375 is 3/8. Now here's another rounding off rule. Once again, it doesn't matter why this rule exists. It won't make any sense now, but get used to doing this. A number that's more than 1, well, that's more than 1 point something. The rounding off rule is take that out only to the tenths, to 1 decimal place. So I'll stop it right there. But wait. 1.3, that's not good enough. I need to know what the next number is. Since that's 5 or more, it's 7, I'll make this the next higher number. So the best answer for this is 1.4. Every semester I have taught this class, and that's a whole lot of semesters. My goodness gracious alive. I keep seeing people mess this up after weeks and weeks, and they still seem to not do it right. The rule is, in fact, last semester, like the day before the final, I get an email from this student saying, Mr. Dudley, what's that rounding off rule for fractions? You've been doing this for 16 weeks. The rounding off rule is this. If it's less than 1, you take it out to 2 decimal places, hundredths. If it's more than 1, you take it out to 1 decimal place, to tenths. Let's try again. You know, whether you work with the fraction part of the whole number, it doesn't matter. Let's do the whole number first. Okay, that's 2 point something, okay? Well, what is 7/9? Well, let's see. 7 divided by 9. Well, looky there. It's 0.77777777. So it's a repeating bunch of 7s. But since it's more than 1, we're going to stop it at the tenths. Since the next number is 5 or more, I make this the next higher one, so we would call this 2.8. There we go. Well, now let's go one step further. I would say this number is 0.46. That's what everybody says. I would call that 2.8. I would say 1.4. I would call that 0.3. But there's another way you can say these numbers that really will help us in the next thing we're going to. I could say this as, instead of 0.46, I could say 46 hundredths. Because this is at the hundredths place. Now the 3 there is on the tenths place. Okay, the tenths. That's hard to say. T-E-N-T-T-H-S, the tenths place. So I could say this is 3/10. I could say, oh, look, now the 9 is out at there's the tenths, there's the hundredths, that's at the hundredths place. So I could say this number, I would say 0.09. Everybody would say it that way. But a way you could say it, although you sound kind of goofy, you could say this is 9 hundredths. Now, whoa, what about 0.9? That will be 9/10. So this number is 9/10. This number is 9 hundredths. How could you say this? That's 2 8/10. That's how you'd say that. This would be 1 4/10. Now the reason I'm stressing this is for our next thing we're doing. We need to know how to convert a decimal into a fraction. We've already discussed how do you convert a fraction to a decimal. You merely divide it out. Get your calculator, top number divided by the bottom number. We've done that several times now. So you need to be able to convert fractions to decimal. Now let's talk about converting decimals into fractions. Well, the way I've just described, if I have something like this, we'll start this one. Let's do this one first. 0.3. But if I say it that other way, instead of 0.3, if I say it 3/10, well, now let's write it as 3/10. There's my fraction. I now easily converted my decimal to a fraction by just writing it out the other way I could say it. What about 0.46? That's the way most people who sound intelligent say. But you could say that as 46 hundredths. Well, write it that way. Let's see, 46 hundredths. There we go, there's 46 hundredths as a fraction. Of course, now what must I do to that fraction? Yes, reduce it. Oh my goodness, Mr. Dudley, let's see. What can I divide both of those by? Well, 2, let's try that. Divide 46 by 2, looks like about 23. Divide 100 by 2, that's 50. That looks like that's it. So there is this fraction, pardon me, there's the fraction equivalent to this decimal number. What about 0.09? How else could you say that number? 9 hundredths. So write it, 9 hundredths, and that cannot be reduced. So that's the answer. That's the fraction equivalent to this decimal number. 0.9, that's how I would say it, that's how you would say it. Say it that way on the job or you sound like a doofus, dorkhead idiot. But to sound like a doofus, dorkhead idiot, I could say this is 9/10. So write it as 9/10. There you have it. So, little more coaching here, but before we're done, you should be able to convert fractions into decimals and decimals into fractions, back and forth. So in our next short little video, I have a few up here just to work with this practice to see how we're catching on to this. Not we're catching on. See how you're catching on. I'm catching on, I think. If I got these wrong, that's the way it is. Cheap, low budget teachers.